Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here from SimpleProgram.com. So I was watching this show. I don't normally watch shows, but I'm here on sort of Christmas visiting my parents here. My dad was watching this Turkish program that's actually become pretty popular on Netflix. I think it's called Ertugrul. It's a pretty interesting show, and it got me thinking about. There's a lot of guys in this show. What they end up doing, it's basically the story of this like tribe that, it's like the rise of the Ottoman Empire. It's like happening during the Crusades. It's like a historical, but it's, it's dramatized, of course, but it's really interesting. I was highly impressed. I mean, it has to be good if it's a movie, show, series, which is more than a movie nowadays, but that is all subtitled and you've got to read the subtitles. So if you're paying attention and reading the subtitles, it's got to be good, right? Got to be a good story. So, and it is, but a lot of the people, what they do, it's kind of funny, is they screw up because they like show their hand. Like they figured out, there's this one guy that's like a trader and whatnot, and one of the leaders of this tribe's sons, he figures this out and he just goes and tells him basically like, hey, I forget exactly what he says, but he basically says, hey, like, I know you're a trader, I'm gonna get you. And I was just thinking about this, and you see it multiple times throughout the show, right? Like different people that end up, revealing their hand, way too early. Like they figure something out and they let the other person know. And I was thinking about just how of a dumb thing that is to do, but how we all do this, right? I've done this from time to time. It's hard to resist. It's like you figure out some piece of information and you just want to tell that person, and I've seen this also with people who, they're going to quit their job. I've talked about this in the Complete Software Developer's Career Guide. I think I mentioned it here quite a bit about how to quit a job. Definitely check out that book if you haven't already. I got the audio version out, by the way, now. And, I talk about this idea that some people, like, they tell their boss way in advance that they're going to quit. And then they basically get fired the next day because no one wants someone who's going to, be a deadbeat for that long. Or I've had this experience with firing either companies that I've hired for services or people that I've hired to work for me, is that, if I'm going to fire you for something that you've done, if I'm going to discontinue services or whatever, I'm not warning you. I'm not telling you ahead of time. I'm not giving you a chance to correct your behavior, right? I mean, I'm telling you when you're doing things wrong, but I'm not warning you or I'm going to fire you. I'm not giving a threat. I'm not revealing my hand. All of a sudden, you're just going to get that pink slip. All of a sudden, I'm just going to say, hey, I changed property management companies and I'll need you to turn over all these properties, right? And it's not to be mean. It's not to be malicious. It's just because what happens is when you reveal your hand, when you tell people your intentions like that, a couple of things happen. One is that it gives them warning and they alter their behavior unnaturally. And when I say they alter their behavior unnaturally, what I mean is that they do something that they normally wouldn't do, right? And so you can't know whether or not, they've changed, they've fixed the problem, right? Because they're acting, out of what information they got from you, right? So if you warn someone that they're a traitor, that that they are, they're suddenly going to alter their plan, right? It's just a strategically bad move, okay, in order to do. And the same thing, like, telling your boss that you're going to quit way ahead of time. What's going to happen when you do that? Well, he's probably going to alter his plan as well, right? It's not going to be advantageous to you. And the second reason why is just from a strategic standpoint. From an emotional mastery standpoint, I would say, the first one is more strategic, which is that when you make a decision, you should make a decision and you should just stick with that decision. You shouldn't be, going back and forth, being persuaded by other people, right? You gather the information, you decide what you're going to do, and then you make the decision and you do it. A lot of times when we tell people, when we reveal our hand, when we say we're thinking about doing something, we end up getting input from them and we end up getting swayed by them. A lot of times we open ourselves up to be persuaded, right, instead of making an analytical decision. And so when you warn someone ahead of time, for example, let's say that I had a company that was doing some work for me. Let's say they're mowing my lawn, right? And they're not doing a good job. And so I decide, okay, I'm going to warn them ahead of time. I'm going to like, look, you guys are not doing a good job. If you don't straighten up and fix this, problem, I'm going to I'm gonna fire you, right? I'm gonna hire someone else, okay? So you give them that warning, and then they convince you that they are doing a good job. They tell you, oh no, you're misinterpreting, right? They give you some bullshit, some lies, and then pretty soon, like, they've convinced you, like, you knew objectively from the evidence, like, you saw your lawn, you saw that it wasn't being taken care of correctly, but because you opened yourself up to, not that you shouldn't ever like get a discussion or talk about how things should be done, but because you did that, what ends up happening is that they get to influence you and they get to change your mind and change your decision, and you're persuaded, right? Your analytics, then your analysis of the situation has been clouded by this person, right? So again, I do the same thing. I've had to fire people before, and when I'm ready to fire someone, I don't warn them ahead of time. I don't have a negotiation with them. I don't discuss the options with them. I just gather the information, and then at the point that I decide that they are not doing the job that they're supposed to be doing, and I've told them clearly what the job is supposed to be and what they need to do, and I've told them errors that they've done, right? Not made any threats, but I've gathered all that information. I know at that point in my heart, right? I know that they are not the right person for the job, that they are not doing the job that I want, and I want to get rid of them, right? So I've made that decision objectively. Whereas if I confront them and threaten them and tell them that they may get fired, right, that they're going to have the opportunity to change my mind, and I don't want that to happen, right? It's not that you shouldn't ever change your mind. It's just that when you're analyzing data and you're objectively making a decision, you want to do that in isolation without your emotions being played into it, because the way that we communicate and what people will do is they'll play on your emotions. So anyway, I was just thinking about this concept. It's not 100% fully baked, but I definitely employ this in my life, is that when I make a decision, I make a decision, right? I think this would apply too if you're doing a breakup or something, right? Don't like have a discussion about this. Like, if you decide that you're unhappy with your life and you don't like the person that you're with, whatever, or that you're sick of taking the abuse or whatever it is, I don't know, just do it. Don't like second guess it. Don't like have a discussion with them and get talked out of it. I mean, that's a stupid thing to do, right? Instead, you just do what you're gonna do, and that's it. Okay, so anyway, like I said, this is a good thing, and from a strategic standpoint as well. Like I said, I'll say one more piece of this is that when you reveal your hand too early, right, and you let people know, it's usually good to not let people know what you're thinking, right, especially when you're going to make a decision based on that. But when you reveal it too early, you leave yourself open for attack. People will take advantage of that, and you'll find yourself at the wrong end of the bayonet if you do that, because someone will take advantage of you, and it happened. It's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to you before, where you've revealed too much information, and because of that, they use it against you. So, all right, that's all I got for you today. If you like this video, click that subscribe button below. Click the bell so you don't miss any videos. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.